Yeah, I was about to say, did it not work? I was trying to see if it was working because I pressed admit.
It's okay. I was like running over here because I had to get coffee.
You had to get coffee.
Yes, I had to get my coffee.
Oh boy, you didn't get enough sleep last night?
No, I did. I actually overslept. I took off today, so I overslept.
I don't blame you. Well, it is spring break week. Well, for kids though. Me, it's a
Yeah,
different story.
I'm a mom, so yeah, I have no kids this weekend because they went away with grandma and grandpa.
there, there you go. But did you
So
have a
that's
good?
why I got to sleep in today.
There you go. Did you have a good week overall so far?
So far, so good. Just busy as usual, busy with work and everything else.
Mm, well, that didn't stop you, did it?
Oh no, my work is always busy. My 9 to 5 is very busy.
I guess it's like an everyday thing. It never gets old, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't get old. How was your week?
It's been busy. I've been doing like a lot of at home work. So just as you saw, I'd already seen the Galaxy movie this week.
I know, I'm jealous. I am so jealous. I actually told my parents they have to take my kids to see it since we can't take the kids. How was it? How was it? How was it?
It was really amazing. I don't understand why the critics be hating so much.
I really don't go on what critics say. I've learned to not really go on critics say. Like everyone is their own critic. So we may like things that they don't like. So I always just go for it and I'm like, I'm going to go watch this and then I'll give my viewpoints on it.
Exactly, and here's the thing: it made so much money on opening day,
Oh,
despite
absolutely.
despite the critics and everything.
Yeah, because Mario fans are gonna be Mario fans, and it's been around forever. I'm already 38, so it was before me. My brothers are older; they started with it, and they're the ones who put me on to Mario and stuff like that because they're the ones that had the first systems out there. So it was that Pac-Man and what was the duck game,
Yeah, Duck Hunt.
the duck hunt game. So it's the reason why a lot of us are gamers and I see it because of that. But then I loved the first movie. The first movie was so cute. And then being a Brooklyn girl and the fact that they were representing Brooklyn so much, I was like, "Oh shit." So,
I'll tell you a little funny something. When I heard Brie Larson was going to be Rosalina, I said I was
really?
yeah. Because here's the thing: I seen so many of her posts like right before they even did the Super Mario Galaxy movie. She's a Nintendo nerd, and I was like, I swear, if they don't put you as Rosalina, I'm not watching your movie in the theaters. I was actually going to boycott the movie. I really was going to do that.
Really?
Yes.
I'm actually a really big Jack Black fan. Really, really big Jack Planner. I love anything he touches. He does amazing work. So I cannot not watch this movie with him playing Bowser.
Mhm.
Come on, Peaches is on my freaking playlist. He's just amazing at everything he does. Like I like the other actors, but it's just Jack Black does something for me. Like I even just recently saw the Anaconda movie he did. I was like, okay, this is not gonna. But he just does something that it's just like, fuck, this was actually a really funny movie and a good movie, and it wasn't what you expected it to be.
Mhm.
So I'm a huge Jack Black fan. So I understand when it's like a certain actor, like for me, Johnny Depp not being in Pirates of the Caribbean or someone else
Mm.
playing Jack Sparrow, like I wouldn't be able to do it. Like I cannot see Jack Sparrow and not see Johnny Depp. He's the one who created that character that we've all come to love. So it's very very understandable. But I'm looking forward to the movie. I'm actually a big Yoshi fan, so I was dying to see it just for Yoshi. So my secret to when I play Mario Kart, I'm always Yoshi, and I'm usually the pink one.
Yeah, you know Donald Glover's Yoshi.
Oh, he is. Oh,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
gonna be interesting.
don't forget they were also in Japan last week because they got to promote the movie premiere and everything. They got
Yeah.
these things. So I see so many of my friends going to Japan these days. Like I just saw another one of my friends who was just in Japan just
Oh
now
my God, I've
in the
been dying
nighttime.
to go.
And I was like, well, Drad, let's not give up. Let's just keep saving up money as much as I can because I am doing a good job saving money. So I
How
will be
can
able to.
wait, come on. As fans, how can look at all the shit we have. Like
Yeah.
how it's hard to save money, and then when you're a cosplayer, it's even harder. It is even when you're making your own like gear, but like the materials are expensive. Like the filament for the 3D printing, it's insane. Um, I think what last year I spent like $500 on filament alone for not only myself but for my son because my son's my 3D printing person. He's the one who does all my 3D printing.
Right.
Um and just costume pieces and fabric. It's expensive. So when we are like we want to save money, it's so hard.
Well, all we can do is just keep trying.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know, like if you're not like Japan actually to boost up tourism in certain other parts of Japan, they're actually giving cheaper flights or free flights to fly there and visit that location. And
Hmm.
then you could end up taking the bullet train just to go to Tokyo, and so it kind of works out. So maybe you should look into that program because I've been looking into it because actually a few of the parts of Japan that I do want to see is on that list. I just don't want to go to Japan for Tokyo, or Disney Tokyo because I'm a big Disney fanatic and I have to like visit all the Disney parks. I've already knocked out those parks here in the United States, except for the Hawaii location, which is their Hawaii resort that we do want to visit because we're big fans of Hawaii. Like Hawaii has a special place in our heart. And unfortunately, they're right now going through a horrible situation with the flooding. So prayers out to them and all they're doing. It's a beautiful island. The people are beautiful. The culture is beautiful, but we want to go to like Disney Tokyo, and I think it seizes the other theme park because we've heard so many wonderful things about it. And so those are like the first parks that we want to hit. And then obviously we want to do Shanghai and Beijing and then Paris. People are like, oh, we expected you to do Paris first. I want to go to Paris just to go to Paris and experience it, but it's only because I just wanna go into Sleeping Beauty's castle and see Maleficent. I'm a big Maleficent fan, as you can see.
Yeah, I can see it. So
And she's one of my cosplays I'm known for, so I just wanna go there just to see Maleficent's dragon and to see her, but who knows when that happens? Maybe the villains park will be already done, who knows? Because saving money, once again, because these flights are expensive. Now gas is insane. So the prices are going up. So it's hard to think, and even thinking about traveling now for cons, it's like this week I'm actually redoing my whole calendar of cons that I was doing or may not be doing because like it's gotten so expensive. So I
yeah,
understand you on that one.
yeah, but yeah, we'll try to make it work as the year continues. So
Yeah, we got a long nice. It's the year of the horse. We're expecting many good things. So
yeah, well, if the small talk is over, I guess we can go ahead and get this whole thing started. I like to start with small talk first before we get
oh no,
started.
I don't blame you. How can
So
you not?
exactly, exactly. I don't understand why so many people don't do that.
It's like the opener. It like breaks the ice. It melts everything. You got it down. You got it down to a science.
Got it. Well, let's go ahead and get this started, shall we?
Yeah.
So, greetings. As everyone knows, I'm Phil, host of the Conversation Podcast, and happy Friday. It's like 2 days right before Easter. So there's that. So I have a special guest this Friday afternoon. It's always a good Friday. Of course, it's Good Friday. Introduce yourself. Who's Kris Valkyrie I'm speaking to this afternoon?
Hi, everyone. So, oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. This is awesome. I've been looking forward to this, and I you're so great at what you do. I've been watching your podcast and your conversations, and you've had some very interesting guests, some amazing guests, and this is an honor. Thank you for
Mhm.
having me.
Of course. Of course. Well, you didn't introduce who you are.
Oh,
Tell me who
oh,
you are.
see, I'm used to being on the other side. I'm the
It's
worst.
okay.
I'm used to be on the other side. I'm used to being in your
It's
shoes.
okay. Go
I'm
ahead.
Kris Valkyrie, the Mistress of Misfits. I am a cosplayer, a DJ, an entrepreneur, and business owner. I am a pageant title holder, a pageant coach. I can't even remember my own resume, and an activist, other than being a senior litigation paralegal and a law student. So I am a woman of all trades. And then my biggest and ultimate job that I am proud of is being a mom and a Doberman owner.
Okay. Well, hey, that's a lot. So that we'll take it. And and so now before we get into this, let's do another icebreaker, okay? Let's do like another bit of icebreaker. So I gotta ask, is everything in your room pink?
So no, everything in my room is not pink. Actually, so this is my office. My office is not all pink. My office is actually wallpaper with sparkling wallpaper. And then my curtains are pink. There is a lot of pink in my office. My desk is pink. My MacBook is pink. Uh, so yeah, there is a lot of pink in my office, but it's my curtains. My bedroom is actually Tiffany blue, which is
Uh,
one of my other favorite colors. So my colors are pink. Not even my colors are Tiffany, well, teal or Tiffany blue and purple, and then pink. So
okay.
I don't know. There's just something about pink and purple that it just like flumps. And then it's also the best color to go with black. So a lot of the colors that I do wear is black. So, but no,
Hey, it
not everything
works.
in my office is pink.
Hey, I don't judge, but I have blue and black together, so I have a lot of blue stuff in here as well as my microphone here. It's a Yeti blue microphone, so I can't be one to judge. Okay,
No, no,
so
no. No,
so I,
it's understandable. That's the first time I've ever gotten that question. I'm like no, I love it though. But no, my office is not all pink. It's actually all white. And then like the desk and the curtains are pink. And then there's obviously I can't show my office, but there's a lot of artwork and photography, my photography that I've done. Some of my original pieces that I've done because I do draw and paint. And then I got like my favorite artists. I have one of the Boriqueña pieces that were signed by the creator of the Boriqueña. Another good friend of mine's and one of my favorite artists as well, Jacques or Tortuga. I have his art pieces. I have actually two. I have a Stitch and a Lady of Justice that he did. That is a beautiful piece. And then on this side, it's just like artwork and family photographs and stuff. I actually have comics. My comic collection is in here too. And obviously my Funko Pop pieces. This is actually a new piece I just got from a good friend.
okay.
Uh, Project K, from Origins of Play. So he blessed me with Versailles. So I'm loving it. It's a joke because I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. I actually even have the Game of Thrones. That's how big of a Game of Thrones fan. I have a Johnny Walker bottle of Ghost from Game of Thrones
Okay.
too. And then I have a Friends comic here behind me, the Biani comic. The creator is a good friend of mine, is Biani. It's about a Filipino, one of the first Filipino superheroes. So it's a really good comic. It focuses on social justices and things of that extent, and racism and things that are happening in the Philippines and here in the States as well. So it's an amazing comic. So that one's behind me. And actually my comic collection that I've been recollecting has come from Bayani, because he hosts a comic thing on Whatnot, selling comics. So he has some good pieces, and a lot of my comics have come from him. So that is my office in a sense.
Hey, I don't blame you. Look, I mean, look at my office. All these things. So hey, we got to decorate it, right?
Yes, and how can we not decorate it with our fandom? Like even my work office has some of my office in the city for my 9 to 5 actually has some of my fandom. There's like a baby Grogu over here and there. And
There you go.
Stitch. I'm a big Stitch fan, so yeah.
All right. Well, now that the ice is broken, let's go ahead and get into the main event here. So, 20 questions, and I divide them up into sections to keep track. So,
Okay,
let's go ahead and start with section one. It's
let's
the
go.
usual origins and identity. Now, who is Kris Valkyrie when the crown comes off and the camera stop rolling?
I Wow, this is a really good question. I'm gonna have to take you to become a pageant judge with me. All right, so Kris Valkyrie is a mom, a wife, a daughter, a geek, and a fan of creativity and talent, but a person that has a heart of gold and a survivor. That's who I am. I
Again, lots of titles.
Yeah. Lots of titles. Um, I guess it's just the title thing. Being a pageant girl, I'm so used to it. I started pageants at 12 because my mom was tired of the tomboy that I was. I was an athlete. I grew up with boys. I wrestled around. I didn't want to wear dresses. So my mom stuck me into pageants thinking, hey, maybe I'll get some type of a girly girl out of her. And she created a little monster. Not only did I fall in love with pageantry, but it was also my way of spending more time with my dad, because my dad was a NYPD police officer, so he was barely around. I was a kid that grew up not having my dads at my swim meets or my softball games. If they did show up, it was like a miracle because they were working. And what a lot of people don't know is growing up as a law enforcement kid, you kind of feel alone. And if I didn't have my brothers, and my brothers were also a part of law enforcement, so until they got on the job, it was me and them and my sister-in-laws, and that's how I grew up. And other than that, I had my grandma, and my grandma was I was always with my mom's mom, and that was like everything to me. I got to be raised around my grandparents, my siblings, and it meant a lot. And if it wasn't for me growing up around my siblings, I wouldn't be the fan that I am today, because it was my brother Johnny Boy that put me on to the comics and the Star Wars and all my fandom. Like, I was a Disney fan already because of my mom. She was a big Mickey Mouse head. And I had an obsession with Captain America because my mom had this huge Captain America statue in our dining room. And then finding out like the origins of Captain America and how he was from Brooklyn, it was a big deal. And then with my brother, he developed my fandom. So, my origins are just a Brooklyn girl, a girl from Brooklyn, like Captain America, girl from Brooklyn, born and raised. Uh, I grew up in a law enforcement family and a pageant girl from the age of 12. And, um, I've gone through some things. Music and art have always been my escape. My father taught me photography because he was into photography. So I've always found a way to stay busy. Cause like I've never felt like I was normal. Like I always felt different. because I always thought different. And then, being a fan, you were kind of not like in the communities or like the day and age, like fandom wasn't accepted so much the way it was when I grew up. I kind of had to hide my fandom as I gotten older. Um, but when I turned 30, I just didn't care. I don't want to curse on here. I just didn't care anymore, and I was like, screw it. Like, you accept me for who I am. And it was also part of my healing process as a survivor. Um, to stop people pleasing, because when I went through what I went through, it was just a lot on a person's, like, not only soul and physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So it was a hard road, and I have to thank my fandom and my talents, from the music to my art, because it helped me heal. It truly, truly helped me heal. So yeah, I guess that's my origin story.
No, it's a powerful origin story. And listen, it's not when you start off trying to figure out who you are, it's not easy. You gotta take baby steps. But everything you told me was, I wanted to do what makes me happy. That's
Yes.
all you wanted. And sometimes people tell us that we do things that we can't do. That we should be doing what we can. But I was like, what if I want to just do something that I really like doing, but y'all never seen before? Like, what if I want to be that person, but y'all keep barring my path to help me get to this point?
Yeah, no, it's understandable. I did go through it. Um, so, growing up in a law enforcement family, we're told we can't do certain things. We have to be a certain way. We're held to certain standards. And that's a part of that development that I had. Then growing up in a Hispanic household that was traditional and close to traditions and cultural traditions, there's other things that we were taught that we couldn't do, like talking to a therapist. It was kind of frowned upon, because you're told in a Hispanic household that telling other people your problems is like shameful, and stuff like that. And then in the law enforcement family, it's like a form of humiliation. Like, you can't show that you have weaknesses. You can't show that, like, you're broken. Or like, if you do this, it's going to tarnish the legacy that the family has, especially when you're a family that is a long line of police officers, and you know captains and chiefs and commissioners and stuff like that. So it's like a big deal. um when you think about it, you have to think about, like, if I make this move, this is going to affect this person. And as you grow up, you kind of like start taking a thing back, especially after you go through something so traumatic that I went through, that at a point that I even feel like my law enforcement family failed me at one point because of what I went through. Because when I went to help, I saw how they treat survivors in the real sense. Like, I'm told that they have all this training, and they're empathetic and this. No, they treated me like fucking shit. It is not like you see on SUV. Like, you're not, you may run into a cop if you're lucky, or a detective, but the rest of the department, oh my god, it was disgusting. And I think that's what pushed my advocating side of me when I went through that experience, and I felt like the system failed me. It took a judge to say, like, I'm not putting up with this bullshit. Like, this is all bullshit. And she saw that I got my justice, and I'm dying to run into that judge one of these days, especially that I work in the law field, and I'm in the process. But it was seeing how I was treated, and then hearing other survivors' stories that push my advocacy, because there's not a lot of people that take their job as seriously as me and other people that have that empathy and take the time and the patience to give them and help them share their story and give them that comfort. So it's a lot on one person, but I guess things do happen to push you into a certain path. And if those things didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be in the path that I am today and doing the things that I do.
Mm. That's true. I'm glad you said because the way society is right now, we've seen a lot of like violence going around, and it's really terrible because I've seen so much as far as like with the whole immigrants and everything going on, Hispanics, you know. So much of your kind of situation, you were treated unfairly, and just like like I didn't feel like I but didn't belong in a place where people start to like dehumanize you, and I think that's pretty disgusting. Like we've seen certain situations where it's like, what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen to somebody else? Because our kids are going to grow up and they're going to experience this same kind of cruelty to other people. But can we teach them the right way to do it?
Yeah. So it's this world disgusting is not even the word. Inhumane, certain things going on, it bothers me in my soul, especially when I know so many laws and constitutional amendments and things are being broken in so many ways. um it's sad that we're experiencing this, but um unfortunately, I do know that everything comes full circle. And if we don't start nipping things in the bud the way we should have did years ago, we wouldn't be going through this. Because what people don't understand, this is a vicious cycle that's going to repeat itself until we break that generational or nip that whole situation in the bud. And as a Hispanic woman, as a very proud Latina, I am of Puerto Rican descent. I'm very proud of who I came from. I carry blood of Taino, I carry blood of Europeans, I carry blood of African and Muslim descent, and I'm very proud of that and my background. And then, I have a joke. This is Taino camouflage. I look like my colonizers. But if it wasn't for me looking like who I am, I wouldn't be around. And unfortunately, it sucks that I have to say that because I've been put into certain situations, people thinking that I was one of them, that they could speak freely in front of me. But that's where I come in and put them in their place and tell them it's not acceptable. And they're not going to get away with saying something of that extent or treating a person like that, because every person needs to be treated like the human being it is. And this is where I go back to growing up in a law enforcement family. I wasn't taught to see color, especially that I came from a Hispanic household, because we have all different colors in my family. We go from the lightest to the darkest. We go from brown to blue and green and gray eyes. Like, we go from all different kinds of hair, and then I married a Dominican man, and I'm very proud of his culture and his heritage. And they're the same. They go from light to dark. So growing up in a Hispanic household, growing up in New York City, which was a huge melting pot, and then growing up in a law enforcement family, I wasn't taught to see color or religion. I was taught to see a uniform and a sacrifice that that person made every day. Um, my childhood best friend, I cannot live without her, Cully head. She's also my daughter's godmother. We became best friends because our dads were partners. And here I am 38 and she's in her 30s so many years later. And that friendship and that tied, even when her father retired and moved away to Maryland, it was still that connection. Like our first fight was because we told we couldn't be sisters because we say we're sisters because we were black and white. And we got mad and got into a fight in the park. So that being said, we're taught to see people for who they are and not to judge them on religion or faith or their beliefs or their outlook on life or their skin color. And then today it's like we're going back to what the 70s and 80s where that's all the world judged on, and it was like constant separation. And if we haven't learned from the fact that we're better united than separated, I hate to use this example, but because I'm still affected by it, my dad was a first responder to 9/11. He's sick from 9/11. He has 3 cancers, and I see my father still fighting to this day. And he's my dad's my biggest superhero. And I'm sorry I'm getting all teary-eyed. But when we falter the way everything happened, the city and the United States came together in such a way that we were able to overcome the horrific tragedy that we experienced at that time. But now we're separated. And now you're no longer, it comes back to where sometimes I have to fight. Like either I'm not white enough to be a part of it, or I'm not Hispanic enough because of these reasons. And it's not like in that sense, it's like you don't have this much pride because of this, or you're not American enough because of this. And it doesn't falter that way, because at the end of the day, everyone that's come into this country legally, illegally, because I'm going to put it out there. I have clients that are that came into this country legally and illegally, but they are the most hardest working people, the hardest working, the most sweetest, most caring people there is. Like they're more caring than some real American. And I see like that. There's no real American at the end of the day. I hate to get political, like I always say it, but the First Nation people are the real Americans. The rest of us, we're just immigrants that are descendants of immigrants that came into this country. If you don't have First Nation blood or you're not First Nation, then you're not an American. You're a descendant of immigrants that helped build this country. You know, our our military is being mistreated. Our veterans are being mistreated, and it fucking sucks. It sucks. So going back to what you're saying of being dehumanized, it's unfortunately the stereotypes that are placed on society, stereotypes that we have yet to remove from, whether it's corporations or the media or anything medical, things that are done that are going to continue this vicious cycle. And it sucks, but that's why there's people like you and myself that are working to striving to make sure that the hope that I do have my moments where I'm like, fuck. But then I meet people like myself or people like you, and it gives me my hope again in humanity and that there's still good people out there.
Well, I try to make every day where I wake up, I try my best.
No, thank you. You're doing an amazing job.
So yeah, and also condolences to your sorry about your dad going through that. Listen, my mom used to work one of those buildings in 9/11, and she didn't go to work that day. If she did, I wouldn't be here. So
Oh,
she was
thank
pregnant with
God.
me.
Oh, wow. You know what? We do hear a lot of stories. I've heard a lot of stories. uh how people just decided not to go to work, or they woke up sick, or something was off, or they missed their train. You know, things happen for a reason. And like you said, if your mom decided to go, you may not have been here.
Mhm.
So kudos to your mom paying attention to her gut because she knew what was going on. And I applaud her. Like it was I was a freshman in high school. Like every time I see an image, I hear a story, like it takes me right back to that 14-year-old girl. So trust me, I know. I know. It's a
Gotcha.
lot.
Well, shit. Let's continue to have these sort of conversations. That's all we can do at this point.
Yeah, but these are conversations that need to be had. Like we have to have those challenging conversations, whether people, that's another thing. With my podcast, I don't mind having a conversation with the person that I don't see eye to eye with, but we're able to have a humanly respectful conversation. Like there's no reason like why two people that don't see eye to eye can't be friends, can't have good conversations, or have those challenging conversations without conflict, because then the world would not exist, because at some point in our history people had those challenging conversations and came to terms and respected one another. It's called being mature, it's called being an intelligent individual, and being a human being, a proper human being.
Exactly. Well, let's go on to the next question. Now, was there a defining moment where you realized you weren't here to play by society's rules?
I think me just being born. Wow. I don't, I've had so many moments in my life, and the experience that I did experience, uh I didn't think I was meant to live, but somehow, some way, I lived through that whole trauma. Um, it's I wouldn't say so much that defining moment, um, because I did have near-death experiences as a child. So, um, I think my most defining moment was my career choice. That's what defined me. I would have to say when I changed my career. Um, I was studying, I always wanted to be in the entertainment field and media field, which is why my associates is in broadcasting technology and management with a minor in film production and editing. Um, being in the music field, being a DJ, uh, I've always been attracted to the entertainment industry, and my bachelor's, which is a sociology degree, I basically focused on how human behavior is affected by media. Because me being a nerd and into sociology, anthropology, and psychology, I decided to major in sociology. So, but it was all pushing towards a law degree, because what a lot of young students don't understand, you don't need to focus on law to obtain a law degree. You could major in anything, and this is why I'm pushing to do a mentoring program with the Puerto Rican Bar Association, so we can start being a guidance, because a lot of students, especially first in their families, whether they're first in high school to graduate high school and go to college, or first in their families to become attorneys or doctors, there's really no guidance, like people expect. Unless you find the right person, you're not able to. So, I focused on media, I focused on entertainment, and I was still going to do law, but I wanted to go into contract and entertainment law and media law. So I was striving for that and working towards that, even though I was already working in the personal injury field. And then I did some criminal defense for federal cases, and I've also did family law and civil rights. And even with that being said, I was focused and ready to go entertainment, media law, contract law. That's all I wanted to do. Um, but then I had my defining moment where I think it was before I graduated from NYU. I was writing a paper on how media headlines affect how people act, or they focus on the clickbait. So they'll do a catchy title just so a person read the article, and the article is nothing about what the title is saying, or and stuff like that. And then it was also the anti-law enforcement rhetoric that was going around, where everyone was judging a cop whether they knew they were good or bad. Like, to the world, every cop was bad. And I was tired of attending funerals or memorials, especially like after the two cops that were assassinated in the patrol car were from my dad's precinct. Those are two individuals I knew my entire life. Well, a portion of my life. I know their families, I know their wives, I know their children. You know, it was that moment that I realized that I needed to be a change. Then being a survivor pushed it even more. When I helped a girl that was traumatically sexually assaulted, um, be able to speak and share her story, I knew I was meant to do more than what I'm doing. Like, and that's when I changed my field into personal injuries, and my focal points not only focused on personal injury, which is the bread and butter, but I hate motor vehicle accidents. But I handle labor law and TBI, which is traumatic brain injuries. Um, then I but my main focus is our civil rights, excessive force with law enforcement, sexual assault, sex trafficking, domestic violence on a personal level. I do help and advocate on the other side when they're dealing with that, if they're going through the criminal system, but I do not get paid for it. It's all volunteer work, and something that I'm working towards, because I'm also in the process of creating my own charity for this. Big shout out to Eric, who has been helping me with this process that I've been going through to create my foundation. So it was that turning point. Being career wise and being a survivor, those 2 points made me realize I was meant to do more than behind the scenes. And then my healing, it was also part of my healing process, because I know that if I didn't start sharing my story, not only would I be able to have these conversations without like getting triggered, um, it was that healing process and realizing by sharing my story, not only can I help somebody else, but at the same time, I'm able to heal, because, it's me taking back my power. So it was, I think, 3 moments in my life when I changed my career path on the field of law that I wanted to practice, and being able to have a survivor share her story, and then me taking back my power to become the woman that I was meant to be, or and finding myself again.
Hey, you gotta find yourself out in whatever career you're doing. And we need more people. Listen, my sister is actually in law school at Elon in North Carolina. She's trying to get her law.
Congratulations.
She's trying to get her law degree.
She
But
got
yeah,
this. She's gonna get her law degree. It's not she's trying. She's gonna get it. She's gonna get it.
she's gonna get it. You have to have those kind of like realize those kind of like experiences in life to show exactly what you want to do. And now that you're saying you've done like all the law, civil rights, like because I seen you doing a lot of like law forums, etc. You want to make sure that you're giving back to society and helping them out.
Oh,
I know the question said you didn't have to play by society's rules, but you're still doing it in the way that works for you. Because I know there's like so many like tragic events that's going around, assassinations, kidnapping, trafficking. Like I've seen so much on social media, like there's been a lot of arrests going around because people have
unlawful
been doing it.
arrest to be exact.
Yes, the like people doing like sexually abusing children, and there's like child trafficking and everything. Like one dude who was like convicted of like raping a child or something, he got sentenced to life. So, and it's crazy stuff, and it's something
It's
we have to pay attention to.
I feel like it is so you think so when I say like I make it seem like I'm doing my thing, that I'm not going against the norm, um but I actually do, because I speak up. That's going against the norm. I like here I'm filtering myself because I'm trying to be respectful, but I have no filter. I tell it as it is. I do curse a lot. When I post that I'm saying F this and F that at work, I trust me, it's coming out of my mouth. Um there's moments because like unfortunately not everyone that works at my firm are the brightest. I do have a habit of sending my besties a picture of Scar that I'm surrounded by idiots. So I don't I seem like I'm going against the norm, but I don't. Like if I have to push, and I have to be thankful for this, because the mentors that I've had, my first mentor, my mentor that's been with me since he passed away, she breaks the norm every day, and she's a judge, but she doesn't care because she tells it how it is. She knows the law. She practices this every day. She uses her platform to make sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to be, and that we are adhering to the law, because there's a lot of people that think they're adhering to the law, or think they comprehend it. And I know they didn't read that 980 pages that the law was written on. I know they didn't do it. I know I did it. I know your sister is probably doing it because she's learning how to do it. But they take bits and pieces, and it's the same thing with social media. It kind of goes back. They take bits and pieces of what they want, or what they feel that sounds interesting, or what they think that's going to make them viral, or that clickbait, and interpreting to the way they understand it, but it's not the correct interpretation. The perfect law that I like to use in an example when I have this conversation is the abortion law that was created in New York State. So the law that was created in New York State was to not only protect women's rights to choose, but it's to give medical doctors, medical nurse practitioners, individuals that are in rural areas, to make life-saving decisions for women. Not saying that there's giving women permission that decide like, oh, I don't want to have this baby no more, I'm going to terminate at 8 months, like the social media was spreading. No, that's not why it is. It's because there's rural areas, and people don't believe that there's rural areas in New York State. We have very fucking rural areas. I'm sorry for cursing, but we do have very rural areas um that a lot of people don't have access to proper or good medical treatment. And God forbid a fetus or a baby dies in vitro. that woman could start developing sepsis, infection, and so many things if the body is not naturally miscarrying. There's so many reasons why miscarriages happen, why things happen. No one understands it. So this law was created to give doctors in those areas or nurse practitioners protections to make life-changing decisions that could save that woman's life. Because let's say the next hospital is 10 hours away. You understand? So that's why that law was created. But then social media came and went with this like crazy ass frenzy that it was to terminate babies and it was a baby killing thing. No, that's not why it was created. It was not only to protect women's rights, it was to protect doctors and nurses that have to make life-saving decisions. Because once again, we do not know our bodies. We do not know the process. As advanced as science is, we still don't know why a lot of things happen. And as a woman that's had a miscarriage, not too long ago, it still hasn't been explained to me why it happened. Thank God, my body did what it was supposed to do. But there are women that their bodies don't do what they're supposed to do. And they have that fetus or that baby still in their body that could lead to infections and lead to life-threatening things. And sometimes doctors can't make certain decisions because the law has tied their hands and they could get in trouble. So that's why we have to upgrade or update certain laws and certain procedures to fit society in this. Laws are updated on a daily basis every day to fit society and to help, and at the same time not only protect the rights of the civilians, but doctors and lawyers and police officers and so on and so forth. Because remember, a lot of these laws were created in the 1900s. So people don't even understand that as well. So by speaking up and being a voice and not being silent, I am going against that norm because people expect women like myself, a woman in general, just a woman. And then on top of that, I'm a Latina woman, a very proud Latina woman. I'm a woman of Puerto Rican descent. And they expect me to stay quiet and be submissive. Sorry, I don't do that submissive shit. Don't do it. Never will do it. I'm going to speak out. I'm going to tell it how it is. And I'm not going to sit back because a man thinks he could talk down to me. I'm going to speak up against. So, yes, I do go against the norm or the expected norm. I am going to speak up when someone is being hurt, bothered, or into. I do know that I do have to adhere to certain laws because if I get arrested or I get caught up in something, then I can't be a witness for that individual that experienced something. So another thing is like this whole ICE situation with these unlawful arrests or no respect to due process, because I'm sorry, a lot of these arrests violated due process on all levels. On all levels, I've taken CLEs on this. I've gone to many conversations, and I really do hate getting political, but I am going to tell it how I see it. Um, as an American citizen, I cannot get involved. Like I have to allow that due process, but all I could do is record, document, and then bring that information to the right people to help that individual. Try to get in contact with that individual's family and so on and so forth. Because now, with the way things are going, if you get involved, they can arrest you because you're violating a thing.
Or
Uh,
worse, they'll kill you too.
exactly. So, I think the show The Pit, I don't know if you ever saw it. It's a freaking amazing show on HBO. They did an amazing job. I love how they broke down the episodes to be hospital shifts instead of like you think the whole series is like different days. No, it's just like one hospital shift. So they actually did an incident where ICE came into a hospital with a detainee being arrested, and then they went to assault her, and a nurse jumped in the middle because now she's a patient, and they went to assault her, and they ended up taking the nurse in for, like, they claimed that he assaulted an officer when all he did was, like, stop him from hitting the person. And that's not assaulting an officer. I'm sorry. That is not insulting an officer. That's he did get involved, but the person was a patient and was handcuffed, and they were about to physically assault her. And he did any humanly thing possible. One, that's his patient. He's protecting and he's upholding his laws and guidelines and his oath to protect and to help a person in need. And, this person said he assaulted an officer when all he really did was intervene, and they arrested him, and now they're trying to find him. Like, it's crazy, but I think they focused on what is going on so well and so properly. And this is why I tell people, if they see something going down, humanly possible, it breaks my heart that I have to take a step back and not get involved, but you have to document it. But if I get involved and do what I want to do as a human being, put myself in between and shelter that person, I'm going to be taken with that person. You understand? So unfortunately, we're caught in this crossroads, but in order to help, we have to document. We have to get as much information as possible and help their families find them, and stay on top of it. And this is where we have to come in and now start hassling our representatives, start jumping down our representatives' throats, because those are the only people that could really make certain moves, even though they tie their hands and stuff like that. But if we start putting pressure on our governors, our senators, our congressmen, our mayors, our representatives, you put that pressure on them, they start putting the pressure where they need to be set. And what people don't understand, judges' hands are tied. Judges want to speak out. Judges want to do things. But all the judges can do is adhere to the law and make sure that the due process is followed and that the law is being followed. And that's their only job. But there's a lot of lawyers out there that are breaking the norms, that they're doing a lot of pro bono work helping these people as well. So look to associations, and if anyone comes across this, look to bar associations, ask for pro bono work, look for immigration lawyers. Um, there's people out there that are doing help, and anytime someone speaks up, even if you have to take a step back and fight against what you're naturally wanting to do, it's a form of helping that person, because if you get caught up with that person, then you can't help them. So, and unfortunately, people are not playing fair, but you have to play by the book sometimes in order to help.
Let's see. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. So keep it going. Um, let's see. Let's go on to question 3, shall we?
Sure.
Now, how has your personal story shaped the war you become for civil rights and survivor advocacy?
So, I know I've let go bits and pieces. So when I went through the trauma that I went through, um, it was a lot. It it was a lot, and it's taken me 15 years to get where I am. Um, the first 10 years were probably, well, the first 6 to 10 years were probably the hardest. Um, but it was, I think, a necessity for me to see. It was an eye opener because, like I said, growing up in a law enforcement family, growing up in a Hispanic household, you're taught and led to believe certain things. And the first year I literally thought I was fucking going crazy. Excuse my French. I'm sorry. But I thought I was going crazy because my head was telling me, my head and my body, my soul, my spirit, everything was telling me that I needed help, that I needed to go to therapy. But then what I was taught and the way I was raised, it was like, okay, if I do this, I'm a bad person because I'm breaking rules. I'm breaking ethics. I'm breaking all these things. And then I was already used to feeling like the villain in the family because I kind of always went against the norm in my family. I didn't mind being different. I didn't mind being outspoken. Um, I didn't mind being a little badass if you want to, I just I didn't care. Yeah, I was a girl, but I wanted to prove a point that I could, hang out with the guys
Well,
and I
hey,
could keep up
we
with
need that
them.
energy.
I could keep up with them. I'm just as good as they are. Like prove a point. Like I could wrestle. I could do all this too. My mom actually says I was worse than the boys. So I I knew I was always different. I knew since I was a kid I was always different, and the older I got, the more I saw it. Um and as a survivor, I started embodying the villain because I already felt like I was labeled as a villain and being different and not thinking and fitting in. As a kid, I loved the Joker. Like I was listen, I watched Batman. Kudos to Batman. Batman was cool people's, but I liked the Joker. I liked Harley. I liked Catwoman. I liked Poison Ivy. There was just something about them. Like I fell in love with Maleficent the first time I saw Sleeping Beauty, and I was like, what, 4 years old? Like, yeah, Sleeping Beauty was cool. Like, oh, that's all cool. She's dancing with the owls. But that woman right there, yo, there's something about that woman right there. That green woman, I don't know. That like so it was just I I didn't I di my love with the Power Rangers, another thing. Everyone loved the Pink Ranger. It was all about the pink. I think the only thing that I was probably the same as other little girls was the fact we all had a crush on Tommy. Like, bro, we all had a crush on Tommy. Let me explain. When Tommy showed up, we were all like, "Ooh, who's that? He cute." Like the my only other crush was like Donnie Wahlberg. That's like my ultimate like childhood crush is Donnie Wahlberg from
Okay.
and it's not and people think it's like, oh, it's because of his no. I've been crushing on Donnie Wahlberg since he was in New Kids on the Block, okay? That was my favorite guy. Okay? And and then Tommy came along and I was like, oh, and I was a big Johnny Depp fan because I had a huge crush on Johnny Depp. And then Tommy came, so that was like the only thing. But then all the girls was like, "I'm the Pink Ranger. I'm the Pink Ranger." I was like, "She's so lame. Trini's the
Oh
better
Lord.
one. Like Yellow Ranger all day." So I was always that kid that never like picked like the same thing, and I will always like look to be like see like, okay, what are they going to pick, because I want to make sure I didn't want to be like them. Like, that was how I flowed, but it happened to be, like, all my choices always had to be what society at that time was picking, what didn't fit in. Little girls were like, "I love Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera," and I was like, "Fuck this shit, I like Pink." Pink is better. So,
Well,
that was me, and then going through what I was going through, embodying those villains
yeah.
started being my healing process, setting boundaries. You know, setting boundaries was like the biggest thing of all, because when I started setting boundaries, I started
Mm.
getting a lot of backlash because I wasn't that people pleaser, always nice, sweet girl that, like, I'm not saying I'm not a nice person. I do have a heart of gold. Um, but I I am a I'm a real bitch. Like, I have resting bitch all day, but it's like it's because I'm a person that feels energy. I pay attention to my surroundings. That's back to as a kid. I was law enforcement kid. We were taught to, like, when you go in, you pay attention to everything around you, who's around you, because God forbid something happens, you can be a witness and say this, and this. This person was wearing this, and this. So then being a survivor, those senses get even more heightened because now you don't know, you don't feel comfortable, you don't
Right.
feel accepted, you feel broken, you have to, you feel embarrassed because society tells you what happens to you. You only end up going in two or three directions: prostitution, stripper, or junkie. Like, you're not, you're not labeled this, and you should be ashamed of yourself because you allowed this to happen. That's what society makes survivors think.
Right.
um and I was like, I'm not falling to those norms. This didn't happen because it was my fault. It was never my fault. It's not my fault somebody put something in my water. It's not my fault. Like, I wasn't looking for this. I was working when this shit happened to me. You know,
Mm.
um so it was being treated like a villain even though I wasn't the villain, that I said, started saying F everything. And, like, I had to internally, I think the best way to say it is rewire myself. I started going through my healing process. I got tattoos to cover physical scars, because even though I know I'm a beautiful woman, when that happened to me, I didn't feel so beautiful. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like myself. Like, I didn't start feeling like myself until, like, 6 to 7 years later. Um, I wasn't able to have normal relationships. Even though I tried to have normal romantic relationships, I couldn't do it
Sure.
because you'll be with a guy, and this goes for anyone. They could be with a guy or a girl, and that person says that understands them and could, and they really don't, because they don't realize that a certain movement, a certain word, a certain thing could trigger a person, and it sets that person in a spiral. It took my husband, and imagine, I told my husband to go F himself when I met my husband, because
Oh Lord.
I was at a point in my life that I was fine being alone. I was happy being a single mom. I had everything going for me. I came to a point that I rather just love me, think about me, put me first, my kid first, and I was good. And it wasn't when I was looking to fit in or be normal that I met my husband, and my husband, fuck, man, this, I give it to him because I put him through the ringer. I wanted nothing to do with him. I didn't want a relationship. Like, he really duked it out from, like, a year of me. He met me, a whole year of chasing, and then finally getting me, like, towards the end of the year, and then me trying to take it back off because he has a crazy ass baby mama. So, and I wanted no part of that. I was like, I got enough chaos. I'm not doing this.
That's insane.
So I give it to my husband. He really meant, and my husband, this man, I'm already a strong woman, but then being a survivor, I give it to him. Like, he needs his credit because I already have a strong personality. and then being a survivor and then having like certain things. This man knows me, he's learned, he's overprotective over me, and he looks out for me. And if he wasn't that patient, we wouldn't be married. We're going on what, 9 years together, almost 10 years together, and 8 years, 9 years married. So it's a lot. And then like the rewiring, the going through the process, it just it's a lot. And 10 years, it took 10 years to finally like feel on my feet. Like just like feel, it was like a whole process from tattoos to chopping my hair off. Like, I think my final stage was chopping my hair off. I was a woman, a typical Hispanic woman with long hair. We're told that long hair is beautiful, that that's your beauty, that's your strength, that's your power. And shout out to my stylist. He's not only my makeup artist or my stylist, he's also my pageant director. James Eli, House of Eli in Bayonne. Um, I was like, I need to fix my hair. I box braided my hair and my hair ended up coming out damaged, and we had to cut it health wise. And I was going to let it grow back in. But for some odd reason, we just went shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And now I'm to this. And I could honestly say the moment I cut my hair short, I freaking felt like a badass woman once again. Like, I felt like a badass woman. And then it was that final defining moment. Like, here I am, my relationship is going great, my career is going great. I'm doing things that I want to do that make me happy because I started putting myself first, setting boundaries, paying attention to those who actually care about me, because there's people in this world that claim to care about you and want the best for you, but they have hidden agendas, or they're there to use you and use your kindness and your goodness to gain something off of you. um so paying attention to those things, setting boundaries, not falling to society's standards, and just being me and showing the world who I really am. It's been a process. 10 tattoo later, chopped hair, I there was a point that I gained so much weight because of the stress, and it caused a hormonal imbalance because my PTSD was re-triggered. And um I went up to 280 pounds
Whoa.
here. So that was another process that I had to go through, because people don't understand PTSD could trigger so many things in the bodies. And depending on the person, it triggered a hormonal balance in minds, and it caused me to gain weight. And here I am 180 pounds later. It's a process. So I think it was the journey from 6 to 10 years that was that change. And you know I m- I'm still changing, I'm still learning, I'm still developing as a person. Like, like my new thing now is like every day is like a video game level. We don't know what the next level is going to be, we don't know what it's going to entail.
Oh,
So
definitely.
my nerdism is the best way to comprehend what I go through. And like, it's been a part of my healing process. And I'm about to turn 39. I don't know what 39 has in store for me, but I'm looking forward to it. Everyone's like, my 20s, my 20s. No, my freaking 20s were the worst. That's where I went through my trauma. I was lost. I didn't find it. Wasn't until I turned 30 that I really started saying I don't care anymore and it's all about me. That that was the best years of my 30s have been freaking amazing. And I'm not going to say everything was perfect. No, we're going to hit some bumps in the road, but we have to take those bumps in the road. And this is where the rewiring came in. And use whatever we go through that bump as a lesson, And so yeah, that I think that was it for me.
Oof, well, that's a lot to take in. Like, oof. Like I said, going through life, it's not just about remembering the good stuff. It's also remembering about the bad stuff too. It makes us who we are.
No,
And
absolutely.
sometimes I think about the bad stuff that happened in my life. I don't want to think about it, but it happened, and I have to reflect on it. So I'll make sure I do better next time.
No,
So
absolutely.
and how many like tattoos? Also, tattoos. Listen, keep being like I was like say like that's I tell people like how many people I see around town expressing themselves. Like I see a lot of people. There was this one person I did talk to, and she had on white face paint, and that was her. It's an artistic person. Like she was a clown or something.
Okay.
So it's something that she wanted to wear because it's her artistic expression. And she said at the end of the day, hey, this is how she wants to be. And
Listen,
people in
more
high school,
power to her. I like I tell everyone, if it makes you happy, do it. If you
mhm,
want to paint your face green, white, as long as you're not doing nothing that's inappropriate,
yeah,
I say go for it.
yeah. Because she told me in high school there were boys that were barking at her and everything, and so the principal had to step in and take care of it. Till at the end of the day, you're the one who chooses to dress up like that. I can't do anything about it.
No, you
Hmm.
can't. If it makes like I'm also a mom at the end of the day. I actually do have a high school student. My son is 15. He's awesome, but is he like me? Bits and pieces. I say my children are the nicer side of me that is supposed to be me because I'm just like such a badass and like very hard and intimidating person. Um, my son does not have my style. Sometimes, like, I try to help him and direct him, but he's his own person, but I let him be him. If he wants his hair long, he was like, "Mom, I want highlights." Fine, we're going to Uncle James, and Uncle James does highlights and trims his hair and helps him. That's all I can do. I just want him to be him, and that's one thing I teach my children. Be who you are. Don't worry about what other people think of you. It's important to be happy with yourself, comfortable with yourself, because once you're comfortable with yourself, you
Mhm.
could take on any challenge in the world. And I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, look at your mom. Like, and then they look at us like, I think the perfect example, my son experienced his first rave. Um, he experienced his first rave at Sasetsukon. Project K actually brought him in, and I happened to be on stage with DJ Awesome Prime doing a thing with him, and my son started recording, and he sent it to his friends, and they're like, "How did you get into a rave?" He's like, "I'm with my mom." Something you don't expect like a kid to say, like, "I'm at a rave with my mom." So, like, I'm happy that was his first experience, that it was with me. It wasn't behind his back, even though it's like not the typical raves. It was a convention party, but still, like I rather my child be there with me and not go behind my back and God forbid something happens, because we all know these situations can get dangerous, especially with these mass shootings that are happening, and certain locations are being targeted. So like I think about all those things, but I want my son to be happy. I want him to experience life and know that, like, hey, these are the things that happen. So as a mother, I embrace my children to be who they are. And if they want to have that conversation, that they can come to me or their father and have those conversations. Like, they even say it like, "Oh, I can't talk to grandma and grandpa like this," and I have to remind them. Grandma and grandpa are a whole different generation, maybe. Like, they're so old school. There's no rewiring that generation. So I tell people all the time, please embody who you are and be happy with who you are, because if you don't, you're gonna have so many regrets in life.
for that. And one more thing before we go on to the next few questions. Because listen, middle school years, I was hanging out with the wrong people. You know, I was hanging out with the guys like like the hoods or whatnot. Not,
It
I was busy.
happens.
I was busy purchasing basketball shoes or whatnot. But I
Okay.
was like, that's not me. So when I went to high school, I went back to how it all started for me, just being a full time nerd, watching those shows. Like I said, my whole love for pop culture started with Batman the animated series.
Which
So
one? Like the one on was
yeah,
it
the
it
one
was
with
like
Kevin Conroy.
okay, you started with that back.
Yes, yeah, get Batman the animated series.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still an amazing series. By the way, rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. He passed away in 2022.
Yes, he
So
did. He did a good job. He was a good Batman. He was a good Batman.
and so he's still always be. But listen, I was playing Arkham Knight. Then I wake up the next morning, he's gone. Like I completed one of his games, and I wake up the next morning, he's gone. And I was like, "Oh, Jim Gordon, why did you say this is how the Batman died?" And now next morning, I wake up, Kevin Conroy's gone.
It happens. It happens.
Oh,
It sucks that the people we idolize as a kid that made our childhood amazing, we kind of have this thing that they're going to live forever, and technically they do in film and in animation and stuff like that. But to experience losing them, like when Stan Lee died, that broke my heart on so many levels. That like I think Venom came after he died, he passed away. And when he made his little appearance, like he used to his little unroll things that he used to
yeah.
do, I cried. I freaking cried. You know, Stan Lee is the reason why I'm a big Marvel fan. So I understand you
Oh,
completely.
definitely. Oh, definitely. Then Chadwick Boseman passed away. And I've been getting a lot of
Oh my
Black Panther
God.
stuff. I've been getting a lot of Black Panther stuff.
Oh my God. Let me explain. Chadman, his his whole story is so inspiring, and what he had to physically endure just to finish some of Black Panther when he was going through what he was going through made you realize why he was chosen for that character. He embodies the character in so many ways. And like I think it was the Wakanda Forever, am I correct, with the
Yes.
sister? I was teary-eyed that whole movie because it was just so beautiful, and it's like I can't see him being replaced. Like I can't. And like when they did that whole funeral scene, oh my God, like my heart just broke and went to amazing pieces. And I'm a big fan of Black Panther. I've always been a back fan of Black Panther, especially that his mother, who is the Queen of Wakanda, is actually Storm. And I'm a little upset that they never brought her forward in that sense for the
Yeah.
Black Panther series. Um, because I was a big Storm fan. That was Storm and the Phoenix, Jean Grey, and Rogue were my favorite X-Men. So yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Well, since you answered most of the questions ends with that whole that social justice and activism stuff, I guess we can just go on to the pageant and public persona part then. Listen, I let you guys preach. I don't
Listen,
interrupt.
I will always advocate and be for social justice. I I do not like because I also was bullied as a kid. Every kid is bullied. But I'm a
Mhm.
whole different breed. I got tough skin. Growing up the way I grew up with all male cousins, very few female cousins, and then brothers, I wasn't scared of my bullies. I was scared of my siblings. Bro, if I said I got into a fight, I was worried about if I lost the fight, they were gonna kick my ass. So I was that kid. Like, if they picked on somebody, I went to a school that there was a kids with a lot of physical and mental disabilities. And I would see them get picked on, and it pissed me off. It freaking pissed me off. and I will always come into defense. So anyone I feel like that can't defend themselves, I'm always going to step up, whether it's this way talking, whether it's with a comment. I'm not going to let anything slide because you think you're going to get away with it because you're a keyboard gangster, or you think you could say these things. And no, I'm going to hold you accountable, especially when it's a person that doesn't deserve it. And then being a mom, if you start attacking children in front of me, there's going to be a problem, because I'm not just going to come at you because I want to defend somebody that can't defend themselves. But that mama lion that I am, I'm going to protect somebody else's child like it's my own child, because that's what I want to be done for my children if I'm not there.
Mm,
So I'm always going to advocate. I'm always going to be on the side of social justices, because unfortunately there are bad apples in this world, whether it's in law enforcement, whether it's in the corporate, whether it's in the medical field. There are bad apples, and everyone should be held accountable for their wrongdoings. Point blank. You did wrong, you should be held accountable. Just like if I mess up, I apologize, and that's the adult thing to do. Hey, I messed up here. I'm sorry. Duh, 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 duh. But if you do something to that extreme, or like you wrongfully take a person's life, you should be held accountable. Whether it's criminally or civilly, you should be held accountable, because it's something you did and you knowingly did it, knowing it was wrong. So yeah, I will always be on that thing. That's my life. Just advocating as much as I can.
there you go. There you go. Well, let's go ahead and get into this section,
Pageants.
the pageant and public persona. Um, Now the pageant world has rules. How
Oh.
have you flipped the script to make it your platform for change?
So I've always been the the different I've never been your typical pageant girl.
I can
Um
tell.
I one everyone thinks blonde, big hair, poofy hair, blue eyes, flapper, or they call it the flapper, those like teeth like that they put in makeup and stuff like that. I competed in pageants from the age of 12, and I never wore makeup. The most I had was like lip gloss and maybe a little bit of
Mm,
clear mascara. Um, I didn't wear makeup until I competed for Miss USA when I was like 18, 19. And that was a pageant that I did not want to win. That contract was horrific. Uh, Unfortunately, at the time, the owner was our president. So the contracts was like this crazy ass binding contract, did not make me feel comfortable. Um, Being that if I held a pageant title, I was like considered his property and the property of the organization, and that I couldn't be with my family. I would have to stay in their housing. So I didn't feel comfortable not being with my parents, being that I was young too. So I wasn't the girl that always wanted the crown. I saw the crown as a way to open opportunities for me to speak and be my platform. Um I did a lot of volunteer work. Before I had the crown, my parents always made sure I did volunteer work. And then when I got a pageant title, I doubled it. And it was my way of bringing avocation to whatever work that I was doing. So I knew as a young woman that I could speak, but I wasn't really being heard. But the moment I stepped into a room with a crown and banner, I'm heard. So I use my titles to my advantage to open doors for me that I would or no other person would normally get, and get people to pay attention. So I love pageants. I'm a competitor. I'm an athlete. I love to compete. So yes, I always want to win, but I also know that I'm not going to win every pageant. So I held a pageant title until I was 21. And then I've always had love for tattoos. And when I was growing up in the pageant days, the moment a pageant queen got a tattoo, we were considered retired. Um, so then I was also a DJ. That was also like not seen and being in the party environments and stuff like that. It wasn't pageants. And it wasn't so acceptable. So there was like so many rules, like you have to smile all the time. I don't like to smile. I freaking hate it. Like I hate smiling unless it's like a genuine smile. Like I really don't like doing it. Like I'm very serious. Even when I judge pageants, like I'm like the scary judge because the whole time I'm like this. Just like literally the whole time
But I was
like
gonna say,
my
this
pad
is I was gonna
I
say this
can't
entire thing. Like you're smiling now.
because I'm being me. So people think I just like I smile. But it's like a genuine smile. Like with pageants, you always have to be like, and then you're like kind of forced to always be nice. I'm not always gonna be nice. I'm sorry. If you give me a bad vibe, I'm just gonna be like hi and bye, and I'm not gonna want to associate with you. I just want to cut ties. Like I don't want to be around toxic energy or dark energy. That's just me. Like with a pageant girl, you have to be like, hey, how you're doing? Oh my god, that was the pageant girls that I grew up with, and
Remind me not to get on your bad side then.
no. So I wasn't if I didn't feel right around you, I didn't want to be around you and I'm not going to sit there and just to be like, "Hey, no. I'm not going to force myself into that." So that was the other thing that didn't make me a pageant girl. Um and growing up, then I got my tattoos, so I was considered retired. I even had to cover like them when I judged to make sure nothing was seen um because I had tattoos and queens weren't allowed to have tattoos, and I think it was like Miss Tennessee or Kentucky, she had a whole rib piece that and it was like when I was like 25 or 26 or 27 and she made an appearance, I can't remember exactly, that tattoos started being acceptable. Like or you're kind of they say they accept it but then you're kind of pushed to cover it up when you're in competition, so like you have to do airbrushing and go through like a whole series. I'm not for that. Like my tattoos are a part of who I am as a survivor. They help me heal. They cover physical scars that were left on my body. So, like, I am not trying to hide what made me, which is why I love the new pageant that I'm a part of, Miss Activist. The pageant is not just about the crown, the banner, the beauty, and stuff. The pageant is solely about your platform and speaking and advocating on your platforms that you have. Yes, you are a queen, and like I says, you know, James did a great thing because he saw it how I saw it. The crown and banner help you get into an opportunity. It helps people pay attention and you get to use that platform that you have to advocate on the most important issues you find in the world.
What's the point? What's the old saying? Show your work. We want to see what work
Yes.
you've done, so we can
Exactly.
because
So
listen, you gotta have something that's gonna back up what you're saying and what you're doing. Otherwise,
exactly.
like
Because what I also saw growing up as a pageant girl, a lot of girls showed up for community work, but it was just for the photo ops. I wasn't there for the photo ops. I was doing the work. I wanted to do the work. I wanted to help people. Like, I get this big high off of helping people. Like, the joy that I feel just helping a person or putting a smile on a person's face or, running into a person and if they were having a bad day and I got to make them smile or feel good or give them some advice to help change it, that means the world to me. And I love my money. I love the money I make. Who's gonna put it down, especially with these gas prices going up, bro? I'm not complaining about it, but I feel like I get more value when I help somebody and I get that love and appreciation in return. Like, it just does something to your soul that makes you feel so much better about the world you're surrounded with. And with all this darkness, anytime we get to put that little bit of light, it feels freaking great. So that was the other thing. Like, I saw girls that they would just show up for the photo op, and it's like, hey, I'm here. Look, I'm feeding people. But then after the pictures are taken, they're like, be up. I'm out. I'm not doing this no more. Like, no, I showed up. If it was feeding people, I was doing it. If it was face painting, I was face painting kids' faces. I was running around with them. Listen, there's a picture of me somewhere in a crown banner and dress and heels playing baseball with kids. That's who I was.
This is why I always tell people I don't do something without having a good reason. Listen, Chris, I stopped when I was in college. Like, I don't post a lot because I just be posting for attention. But nowadays, I'm like, I've gotten more wiser, more aware of my surroundings. I just post. I don't post things without context behind it. Like, if you're gonna do something, make sure you have like a strong enough context as to why you're doing it. Otherwise, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And people don't understand, like, when you're fake, or you're a groupie, or you're a coattail writer, or you're just running after fame and popularity, and or you're going by that whole concept, fake it until you make it. No, I'm sorry, honey. When you're fake and you're using a person, or you're pretending to be something you're not, when it's time to put in that work, it's going to show. Like, it's really going to show. And then now, unfortunately, with AI, people are solely depending on AI and using AI to do all the work or to getting positions, not realizing not only does AI violate so many trademark and copyright laws, but it's not your own. When artists or directors or someone does something, they're putting their soul and their time and their hours into that piece that they're creating or that video that they're editing. They're doing something that they worked so hard for, that they studied, that they did whatever they can to come to the level that it is. And if you're depending solely on AI to create your ideas, to create anything that you do, then you're not using the tool properly. You're misusing it to become something that you're really not. Because guess what? When you have to do shit in front of people or prove a point, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. So, like, if you're not putting in the work, or you think, I'm not saying AI is bad. AI is a great tool. I use it just for order spell checking and grammar check,
Right.
and in that sense it does it a lot faster, sorry. But there's times that people don't understand. Even when you use it, you have to double check it because it can make mistakes. It is
Mm-hmm.
not perfect. It makes mistakes. And I've caught the mistakes that it's made after I asked it to check my grammar or check spelling. It's the same thing with using word processor. When you do spell check, it can make a mistake, especially if you're spell checking something, a word that's in another language. Because, sometimes they do write in Spanish. So, you have to correct and you have to double check. You can't just solely think, okay, it did it. I'm just going to post this. Or, oh, nobody will know. We will know, especially the artists, the real graphic designers. These people think, oh, I'm going to get away and I'm going to charge $100 And meanwhile, a graphic artist is charging 300. The reason why he's charging 300 is that graphic artist drew. Yes, he's drawing digitally, but that takes time. That takes patience. That's hours of work. And there's not going to be no mistakes or like seven fingers or something. so
Exactly.
so like
So
that's that whole other thing, you know, if you're not doing the work, you can't fake it until you make it. You can't coattail ride. You can't use people to get somewhere. And it sucks because I've also always been in that position. I've had guys that became my boyfriend just to get close to DJ Camilo or to DJ Enough or to DJ Sus One because those are people that are very close to me, you know, and it sucks. It fucking sucks when people use you for your connections. That's another thing. You know, there's people out there that pretend to be friends or like befriend you, but they come with hidden
mhm,
agendas, and then they presume to be a person. And this is another thing I said, truth always comes out. You could put a front on for so long, but you're gonna fuck up when you're lying so much. You know, you can't continue that lie. And if you don't have that resume, just because you've put it there and filled it doesn't mean you have those credentials. So that it comes down to the real world. My mentor calls them resume fillers. That they take a position in an association or they get a job for like a couple of months and they think because they got it and they put it on the resume, it makes them look good, but now they'll get a position, and when now it's time to do the work, they can't do it. So you filtered and put something on your resume just to look good, but you can't back it up. So that's another thing, and it sucks. It really does. Cuz everyone's like chasing the fame or the likes. Like you post to post. I post to post. I really don't care if I get likes. If I get the likes, I appreciate it. If I don't care because I just want proper information or advice to be out there, because that's another thing. There's so much misinformation that it sucks, and it's leading people down the road. Like you said, you made this mistake by hanging out with the wrong crowd. We all go through it, but it's a
mhm.
lesson learned.
Exactly. Yeah. Make sure you know exactly why you're doing this. Like, don't just people go down this rabbit hole and they expect to get something out of it, where there's really nothing at the end of it. So just make sure if you do something, make sure you have a good reason why you're doing it. Otherwise, stop before it gets worse.
Oh, that's anything they do. I'm telling you, it happens. It happens. So, what else we got about personality and pageantry? Any more pageant?
Yes, we do. We do. Now, next one is people often see pageantry as glamour without substance. Now, how do you prove them wrong?
Look at me. Look at me. Yes, pageants are glamour. It's a great thing. What girl? I'm not gonna lie. Listen, once I got my girly side, I love any excuse to get dressed up, to wear a gown, to do something, and look fabulous. I don't do it for society. I do it for me. Like my husband be like, "Babe, you don't need makeup." Okay, but I'm not wearing makeup for you or anyone else. I'm wearing makeup because I want to wear makeup. I felt like getting dressed. Well, I can't do my hair anymore, so I don't have to do like my
Same.
hair, but like I gotta put on makeup. It's a process. Yes, it's glamorous, yes, but we certain pageants have certain platforms. Like Miss Activist, I'm going to use that because it's a new pageant and it's also breaking the norms of pageantry, and this is why I love it. Not only is it based on the competition itself and being poised and beautiful and you know the gowns and the makeup, but the other main focus is each and every queen's platform and being a representation of their platforms and speaking on things that they mean to them so much. So my platform is obviously uh speaking about and advocating for sexual assault, domestic violence, and sex trafficking and human trafficking. But at the same time, I do focus on mental health because it kind of combines in whole. And the pageant's main focus, the charity that they've been focusing on, has been mental health. So that's like a second platform that the girls also have to speak on, but they have to do the work. They have to be able to have these conversations that when the judges decide to ask them a question, and I'm one of these judges. So now I'm going to tell you, I'm that hard judge that reads the resume that you hand in. Like, girls are coach, and trust me, judges like me, we know when you're coach. That's another thing. I know when you're coach, and you see the irritation in my face when, like, my pageant friends, my bestie Presence, and James, my coach, we all coach, we all judge pageants, and like their face, they just look for my face when I'm interviewing a girl in one-on-one. So when we interview girls on one-on-one, we're like sitting at a table, and it's like a business interview. And we're there, and if they don't have girls at their table, because it's sometimes I'm first, or like I'm the first three, so, and then they have to like go around, they look to my face to see my facial expressions, because when that girl hits down and she's coach, I'm like, yeah, we're not doing this right now. So that's another thing. When you get a judge like me and we're reading your resume, I'm going to ask you questions that I know you weren't asked or you were coached on, because I want to hear your answer. I want to see that you did the work. And some of these girls are coached so well that they knew how to like rewire it to what they were coached on. And I will come back full force to slip you up, because a real queen that's doing the work, that is advocating, that is all about her platform, does not need to be coached on something she cares so much about. And if she did the work and that's who she really is on that resume, she's able to sit down and answer every question. And there are women that have competed, that have doctorates, that are doctors, that are lawyers, that are working for NASA, that wanted to change these norms and say, hey, look, we're beautiful, but we're also intelligent and we're doing this work. Like Miss Puerto Rico, was she 2 years, 3 years ago? She was working for NASA, and she's in the process of being um going further, and she wanted to go into space. And then there was another Miss Puerto Rico that uh was focusing on recycling and environmental stuff. Former Miss USA, who unfortunately she passed away, was a lawyer, you understand? And she advocated for so many things. And another Miss USA that went on, she had a company that recycled fabric, like recycled plastics into fabric, and created this whole environmental safe, clothing line that shows like not only you can be fashionable, but you also can be environmental safe. So yes, the beauty is there, the swimsuit is there, but you have to be able to answer these questions.
Yeah.
So, there's women that are like me that could sit down and have these conversations, but then we also have women that are fall to the stereotypes of pageantry. So, it's always been this thing. And at the same time, a real pageant queen, yes, it is a competitive thing, but real queens uplift other women. And that's another thing that I advocate, uplifting every woman. Not just myself or my girlfriends, but every woman out there and every little girl, because they need to be heard. They could bring something else to the table. It's not just our beauty. Sometimes our beauty is like that crown and banner. It opens a door for us. Having this nice smile kind of makes a person pay attention to be heard, because even though this is another thing that sucks, men when we're dealing with men in certain situations, they think like we're not intelligent enough. We don't speak enough. And another example I could use, there's female judges. These are judges, high-ranking judges
Yeah.
sitting on the bench. And there's male attorneys in this world that are very disrespectful to them and do not show them the courtesy. And these are not only this judge was a lawyer, now they're a judge and they're hearing your case, and you're too busy talking to the male and not paying attention to the judge. Or when the judge is talking to you and telling you something, they're not paying attention to you. So that's another example. There are these kind of categories. So that's why there's women like myself, my mentor, and other women that have to turn around and be that dominant force and loud and say, hello, you're being disrespectful, pay attention. Or like, don't act like your shit don't sing. And that's another thing. I'll call you out on it. I'll call you out on it. But I've also learned, sometimes being quiet, not paying a person attention, and giving them back the energy that they did to you is sometimes better. So there's a time and place to call a person out, but also there's also a time and place to be quiet and prove a point by doing better and moving forward, because it hurts them more. So pageantry wise, you learn a lot of things. It's not the same anymore. Right now I have a gossip page. It's me, my pageant director, our other pageant friends, and it's called our Pageant Gossip. We're having a field day with the Miss Thailand Grand competition that one of the pageant girls was twerking on stage. You just do that. I don't care how you're trying to make this like get fan basing and stuff like that. Being a pageant queen is to represent not only your country, but all other women, and to be a role model to younger women that you can be beautiful, poised, intelligent, and have etiquette and manners, and hold yourself to a higher standard, not to falter to the sexuality that society sees us as.
Yeah, Lord.
So yeah, I think that's the best way to say it.
Exactly. You gotta keep it professional. All that extra stuff you do at home now. We don't need to see that.
Listen, I'm
Crazy.
not gonna say we all love to party, but there's a time and place. There's a time and place. Listen, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm known for my corsets. Right now, I'm wearing a corset, but it's in a professional manner. You could do sexy, but also be professional and leave enough for the imagination. Like, there's nothing wrong with being sexy. There's nothing wrong with it. Whatever you find sexy, if you could pull off the look, more power to you. But there's a time and place for everything. And you could also do fashionable, sexy, fashionable, and glam. And pageantry, you are considered royalty. You're supposed to be poised. You're supposed to be elegant. You're supposed to be professional at all times. When I have my crown and banner, I'm Mrs. New York, Mrs. Activist New York. I do not drink. I do not smoke. I do not do anything that is representation of what my pageant is. I am respectful. I am professional at all times. I am held. The moment my crown and banner are off, yes, I can have a glass of wine. You understand? But when I have a crown and banner on, there is no alcohol. There is nothing. The most you'll see me is water or a ginger ale. And sometimes I don't even do ginger ale. I'll just do a club soda with lemon, because I don't want people to be like, oh, she snuck alcohol and said this is soda or something. Like, I literally do everything to maintain the image that I am supposed to be uphold, because I am a representation of not only my pageant, but I am also a role model to whoever is looking at me. So now if I'm on stage twerking, what is that going to tell a little girl? Like, this is how you get somewhere? No, we want to empower women, not fall to the sexualization that is placed on us in society. Like you just brought us down a couple of notches. Like, and then you do it on a national stage. It's crazy. Like, I don't know what was going through that whole pageant's mind, allowing some of the things that happen on stage. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. It's like I'm actually, and then with what happened to Miss Universe last year, it's, Miss Universe is a pageant and Miss America is like the Super Bowls of pageant to us pageant girls. So to see the things that happen is insane, insane. So yeah, I'm all for it. Like, I can't.
I understand. I understand. Oh, we're officially halfway. Are you enjoying our conversation so far?
I love it. Like I said, I'm not used to being on this side, but this is awesome. It's an awesome experience. You had some amazing questions, some questions that I wasn't even expecting. So,
Again, I try my best.
no, you're
Uh,
doing a great job. Like I'm all for these questions, but these are the questions, like I said, that need to be asked. And you've been doing a great job since every podcast that I've seen with you has been amazing. And you ask the questions that really allow the viewer to get to know who they're following, who they really are, because people only get bits and pieces of us. Like when they see me in cosplay, I'm either super tired or I'm starting to get uncomfortable. My wig is probably getting on my nerves, you know?
yeah.
So like they only get so much of you, or like you get bombarded by multiple people and you're trying to hold conversations but take photos. So not everyone gets to see who they really are. And then when I do my podcast, I'm just focusing on my topics or my guests. So not everyone gets to know who really is Kris Valkyrie at the end of the day. They only get little bits and pieces. So
Mm.
I appreciate this so much.
Well, let's continue to give them the cake, shall we?
Yes.
Let's. So next one is called podcast and media. Now, what drove you to launch the Poisonous Daily, and what's the boldest conversation you've had on it?
I don't think I had a bogus conversation. I think
No,
every
no, not bogus,
bogus. Oh,
boldest, boldest.
boldest. I think so far the boldest conversation I had was the conversation that I think no one expected from me, being that I'm a woman and I'm a mother. But I actually do advocate a lot on this, is the representation of fathers and stereotypes that they fall to when it comes to family court and child support. So I think so far it was pushing that norm, saying how men are they fall to their stereotypes and they're villainized, and that there's a lot of women in this world that use child support or visitation and the court system as a weapon to hurt good men and good fathers and husbands, because everyone presumes that this father is a deadbeat because of whatever story. But there's women in this world that uses child support as a weapon against men, or visitation as a weapon to control the narrative that they want. Like they won't let this father see their child because the father moved on with his life and is with someone else, or whatever reason. So I think that was the boldest conversation that I had. And I actually had Matt the Godfather on there because he speaks about it on a daily basis on his Instagram and social media platforms, on how fathers are misrepresented and villainized, and how there are unfortunately women in this world that weaponize child support and family court and use it against men that actually take care of their children and want to see their children be a part of their children's lives. And I've even said this, that the moment I get my license to practice, a lot of my pro bono work will be to representing fathers that can't afford attorneys, because, unfortunately, attorneys are expensive. And
Yeah, they
it's
are.
hard to get a good attorney to represent you in these difficult cases, especially when a woman is villainizing you and the real villain is that woman. So, it's something that I feel needs to be heard. I'm not saying there's crappy men in this world. There's crappy men in this world and there's crappy women in this world. But there are a lot of fathers out there that don't see their children because of a woman being vindictive and malicious because she thinks she's hurting him. And technically she is, but actually she's just hurting the children. And there's also women in this world that use child support not for what it really is, to support the child. They're using it to live their lives and not supporting the children. And they're using it as a tactic to get back at a men. And then men are paying or having 3 or 4 jobs just to make ends meet because they're losing so much money in child support because they don't know about modifications or having a attorney get involved to make sure that the laws adhere to them and that they're not being overcharged for something. Because there's some men that are overpaying in child support and the child support is not modified to their salary. And, it sucks. And now this guy has to get 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet or have a meal or pay rent because child support is taking everything from them. So yeah, that was my bulbous conversation. As for the Poisonous Daily, so the Poisonous Daily pays homage to multiple things. I started my DJ career in internet radio with Urban Latino and DTF, and I was on another station, and one of my shows was called The Poisonous Kiss. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, The Poisonous Daily pays homage to my radio days. Poisonous comes from my love of Poison Ivy. Daily comes from my love of Superman, so the Daily Planet. And instead of I did the DA, which is paying homage to my Brooklyn days because, the was spelled that way. So it pays homages to multiple things. Me being from Brooklyn, paying homage to the hip hop culture, graffiti culture, that culture with the Poisonous pays for my fandom for Poisonous Ivy. And Daily was my fandom for Superman because I do like Superman. He's one of my go-to, so the Daily Planet. So that's how the Poisonous Daily came out. And then I wanted to focus on everything, those conversations, those hard conversations that you can't have. And whether it's political, society, pop culture, media, whatever it is, and show that we could have these conversations and I could bring on a guest that I don't see eye to eye with. Well, I haven't brought on a guest yet that I wanted to fight. So I think I'm controlling the narrative to a certain point
Yeah.
because I don't think I would be able to sit down like Stephen Colbert or somebody with like a KKK member and be okay with it. Or someone crazy like that. I'm controlling that narrative, but I'm not gonna say I don't see eye to eye with all my guests on everything. So there's certain things like I don't see eye to eye. I've had people on there that are not big law enforcement fans, but I'm able to have those conversations with them, and we're able to have a conversation back and forth in a respectful manner. You understand? So I want to also show that you can have conversations with people that may not see eye to eye with you and stay professional and have some type of relationship or work relationship with that individual. But at the same time, I also created it because I'm tired of seeing so much misinformation in social media and surrounding social media because I feel like a lot of the problems we're having in today's society is the amount of misinformation and misinterpretation there is. So I think that circles back to everything.
It's exactly, controlling your narrative because like lately with everything that was going on, because I actually heard something from the Breakfast Club, if you know what that show is. They were
Oh,
saying
of course I
like
know. Wait. Breakfast Club with God.
Charlemagne, all them stuff.
Yeah,
He
Charlemagne
was
the God.
saying stuff. They were saying
Listen,
stuff about.
let me explain something to you. I love the Breakfast Club, and I like shout out to Charlemagne, like because some of my approaches and things that I approach is because of Charlemagne. He pushes that narrative. So I'm actually a big fan. What a lot of people don't know, in my DJ days when I was leaving the club at 4 or 5 in the morning, that's what I was listening to go home. I really don't listen to radio unless Sus is on or Camilla was on or Enough was on or Flex is on, depending on my mood, I listen to the radio. But other than that, and the most I do is 10-10 wins because I need to hear news some type of way. And plus, I'm listening for traffic and stuff. But like my go-to show, if I have to say radio show, is The Breakfast Club. So what did you hear?
So this was last year when Stephen Colbert was, pulled off the air on CBS. He
Mhm.
was saying stuff like, like, now, did you ever consider how this was going to affect your public programming? Like, we the people already don't trust a lot of mainstream media networks, hence why the whole podcast and online business is booming.
Yes.
That's why he was saying that. So and that's why we have like us as independent journalists these days as talking about certain things that's going on in our world today, as well as any like fun stuff that's going on as well.
No, I think I like publicly, I don't all right, I'm trying to say this
Take your
without
time. Take your time.
I'm trying to say this without cursing. Like I'm really behaving.
I did say this place was no filters.
Okay, like, but I'm trying to behave. So I really don't give a fuck what anyone thinks of me. I like literally I like respectfully to freaking 7 layers of hell that I've been through. I really don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. So like I don't do what I do and worry about image. Then people be like, "Oh, but you're passionate." No, okay. I I also tell people like when I'm doing what I'm doing, when I'm Kris Valkyrie, I am Kris Valkyrie. And that is raw me and who I am and who I like. Kris Valkyrie is not my alternate ego. Kris Valkyrie is actually me and who I am and who I've become as a survivor. And I've learned not to give two shits of whatever thing. Everyone's going to have an opinion on you. Everyone's going to talk shit about you. Everyone's going to do something. There's always going to be hate. There's always going to be criticism because you struck a nerve somewhere. Whether you struck a nerve by telling the truth and letting people know that they're full of shit, or your light bothers their darkness and their toxic energy and so on and so forth. So, in that sense, I really don't care, but I understand when it comes to fame and media now and then this whole cancel culture stuff, they have to think about those things. I think it's like honestly, like business wise, I kind of understand it. Um, But I don't think when it comes to Stevens, I think he just wanted the proper information to be out there. Like he's like us. We're tired of the bullshit. Like we're tired of the clickbait and the misinformation and the constant misinterpretation that has surrounded media. Like literally media, like if we go back to history, newspapers actually was about publicating the news, not selling papers. But once they started realizing that you can make a profit off of it, now stories started changing, headlines started changing because they need people to pick up and buy that newspaper. And when social media came out and people were doing their own thing, a lot of magazines and media companies had to find a way to continue to make money to survive and be business. So then they started getting to social media and printing digitally and so on and so forth. So money wise, it's understandable. But when you're a person that you're just tired of the bullshit and you just want to help in some way, you don't care anymore. And then with me being a survivor, I really don't care anymore, because look at the narratives that I had to fight to prove a point. Not all survivors fall to the stereotypes. We are educated. We do have careers. We can become something. We are not broken. You know, I'm not a junkie. I'm not an alcoholic. I didn't fall to prostitution or say the only thing I could do now is prostitution or stripping, and that's the only good thing I'm good for to now. You understand? There's so many narratives and stereotypes that are placed on people because of whatever reason, and proving that point, you kind of have to build that tough skin and not give a fuck. Like literally, there comes a point or something happens in your life that you just don't give a fuck anymore, and it's just like, fuck everyone. As long as I'm good and I'm happy, that's all that matters. And I'm at peace, that's all that matters. And that concept, I also have to thank my children for that concept, because the most biggest point that I didn't mention of my healing process was becoming a mom. Because if I was broken and I couldn't do and I couldn't endure, I wouldn't have been able to take care of my children and raise my children. I need to be okay in order to take care of them. If I can't work and I can't get up and I can't do all these things that I do, that means I also can't care for them. So my children are also my hidden strength, and being able to do for them and show them that no matter what freaking bump in the road I hit, I was able to overcome it and succeed and to continue to push forward. So that means they're capable too. Like when my son comes to me, "Oh, mom, you don't understand." Like, I wrote that paper. Like right now, he's reading one of my favorite books, The Crucible. I am on this kid like white on rice. Like, are you understanding the concept? Let me see your paper, because like it's one of my favorite writings. One of my favorite readings, and to be exact. And I used to love my assignments that were given when it came to the Crucible. And then I remind him, mommy has been teaching you the story of the Crucible since you've been going to Salem, because we take a yearly trip to Salem, Massachusetts. It's one of my happy places other than Hawaii and Disney. But I have been teaching my son the story of the Crucible, and now that he's reading it's an amazing thing. But everything I do is to prove a point. And if I didn't have the tough skin that I had and I would have gave a fuck, I wouldn't be where or doing or having this conversation with you, because I'd be like, oh, if I come on Phil's show, like, what are people going to think of me? Like, I might be too raw for them. No, I really don't give a fuck. Like, really don't give a fuck. And this is why I also do TikTok, because I don't think I'm TikTok friendly. I really, really, really don't, because I really don't give a shit. And I can't filter. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a Latina. I'm loud. I'm proud. I'm happy. I'm happy to say I support, you know, the the LGBTQ plus community, and I am a big advocate against sexual assault and human trafficking and domestic violence. And I also advocate that domestic violence, human trafficking, and sexual assault does not just solely, this is another thing that's a part of my advocating, it does not solely happen to women. It is ageless, it is genderless, does not care about religion, it does not care about career choices, it doesn't care where you fall in society, whether you're rich, you're poor, you're famous, not, it does not care. So that's the other conversations I have. And a lot of the survivors I've worked with in the past years have been men. So
Mm.
I have that to say too. So yeah, I don't think if you care about what people think of you, you're not gonna go far because it's just gonna hold you back from any opportunity that has. Sometimes you have to say fuck it and keep it moving. Like literally 0 fucks given.
Amen to that. Well, I guess we're almost at the end here, so let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Um, Vision and advice. Now, what's the most powerful lesson you've learned about influence, courage, and shaking the system?
Wow, that's a really good question. So, what have I learned about influence, power, right?
Influence, courage, and
Courage,
shaking the
shaking.
system.
Okay. Courage. Let's start with courage. What have I learned about courage? Courage comes in all different forms. I gained courage as a younger child to know that I was different. So my first lesson of courage was knowing that I was different and that there was no one like me. Then as I got older as a woman, I learned that I will always have a battle ahead of me because I was a woman and I was a Latina at that. Then, as a survivor, learning my biggest courage was being able to ask for help and learning that it's okay to seek help and get therapy. And then my greatest courage was becoming a mother because being a mom, it is not easy. Do trust me, it is not easy. And I can say a mother's courage is beyond. That's why they use the analogy mama bear, or I like to use the analogy of a lioness because I'm a Leo and I call my children my lion cubs. But my courage being a mother has been an astonishing one. And then I learned to be a wife through my mom's courage from her. Um, because my husband used to be a police officer and he experienced almost being shot. And having to go through that is a whole different situation. And then when things happen because of faults of the department was an extra line of courage that I had to hold. So and you know what? I also can say being a cop's kid, I also learned a different set of courage. So throughout my years, everything I've learned about courage has been different to lead up to the courage that I have now that has made the little troublemaker that I am. And no fear. But then the last bit of courage I do have to say is not fearing death because of my death experience, near death experiences that I've had. Um, and coming to terms, I know this sounds like really morbid or something, but that we all will die at some point. So if I'm afraid to die, then what the fuck am I living for? Um, so I want to experience as much as I can experience, and when that day comes, be like, okay, I gave it all of me. But there's also another quote that I live by that God has blessed you with so many talents in the world, and I want to say, like, when it's my time, I use every bit of talent and I didn't let none of it go to waste. So courage wise, that's influence. I have learned so many things about influence, how society is influenced to how it affects my world and the influence that are around, which is why I push the narrative that I push. I want to be an influence that my children would want to look up to, because I know everything I do has an accountability and has some type of effect on someone. So I've also learned this from my mentors, because my mentors are influential to me. You know, my first mentor's lesson was to do what I love so I wouldn't have regrets in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I wake up and I'm doing something that I don't love, I'm going to have whatever a midlife crisis or some type of crisis, some point in my life, and that I'm probably going to be like, fuck, I should have did this. Like, what would have happened? I don't want to have that. And he was right. Um, I don't want to have no regrets in life. I want to do as much as I can do and I'm capable of doing. And at the same time, with all the darkness in the world, I want to be that positive light, that good influence to inspire others to do just as much good as I did. So, influence, I feel like influence is of something of importance, because it could affect either good or bad. And we've seen too much bad. And I'm kind of getting tired of seeing all this bad and all this hate and all this rhetoric that's surrounding us. And this leads back to me being a mom. I don't want my children to be influenced by that. That's why I also do what I do. And I filter my children to a certain extent, but I let my kids know that that type of evilness exists in the world. Um so I filter to their age and I let them know, but at the same time I make sure they're not influenced by the wrong things or the wrong people, and they're not idolizing the wrong people, because you know my kid has become a big Eminem fan. I'm not ashamed of that. I love it. I love that my 15-year-old loves Eminem, because that man is a god when it comes to the rap game, and he's an actual lyricist. And as a DJ mom, it it humbles me, because I hate, like, there's certain I there's actually good lyricists out there, younger generation, but that whole mumble rap shit, I can't do it. I can't deal with it. I grew up with Tupac, I grew up with Biggie, Ice Cube, all these like big real rappers, and like for my kid to be like, "Oh, I love Eminem." I was like, "Oh my god, thank you, Jesus, thank you." Like I'm not being punished. And that's his interest music-wise, but my son also likes Sir, oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. Oh my god.
Take your time.
Piano Man. So he likes him. My son likes Michael Jackson, and he has his own variety of music that he listens to, and these are inspiring him, because now not only he's into animation, that's what he's going to school for, but he's picked up a bass and he's interested in music. So I have to think about who is influencing him and how this is going to affect his career, and how is it going to affect him. um so those are the things you think. So when you're a mom, you kind of think differently. I've also come to learn. So influence and influencing those who influence you. My mentors have influenced me. The female attorneys that I look up to influence me. My girlfriend is the same age as me, and she's a freaking badass. Both of them, both of my two girlfriends, they're badass lawyers, and they're around the same age as me, and they influence me every day. You understand? with their career and what they do and how badass they are. So you think about it as that sense. In my art wise, I've always been influenced about the beauty of art and its history and what it was. Comic wise, I was influenced by Stan Lee, my love for my superheroes, stuff like that. So influence affects me on a daily basis, but what I've seen and what I've used for it is to be that positive, proper influence. And now remind me the last one.
Shaking the system.
Oh, I think me waking up every day shakes the system because I don't shake the system for fame. I don't shake the system for likes. I don't shake it for attention. I'm shaking it because it needs to be done, and I think we need this wake-up call. Um, if I back to influence, if I influence someone to shake the system and they go and get a law passed, that means the world. That's a part of influence. Like by me shaking the system and waking somebody up or something in somebody up to go do something and they do something good like passing a law to help this world some way, some form, that that's all I need. I don't need the credibility. I don't need that person to say, "Oh, this person influenced me." You know, it's something that I feel is a necessity because by me shaking the system the way I do can influence someone that could be a bigger change, lead to a bigger change. And if I wake up every day knowing that I make the devil quiver and say, "Oh, this bitch is up," I'm happy. That's all I live for. Like I embrace who I am. I love who I am. I love me. I put me first. And there's nothing wrong with putting you first and loving you. Because I was also taught if you do not love yourself, you can't love nobody else. And and I think now RuPaul says it every time he ends Drag Race. I think he says it, and I love that he says it. I am actually a big Drag Race fan. I got to actually see Bob the drag queen not too recently in Moulin Rouge, and he was amazing. He's one of my favorite drag queens, other than Alyssa Edwards. Um, so I think embodying that and loving yourself and putting you first is not a selfish thing, and it's a superpower. Like let's go back to it. It's a superpower. It's what makes you a badass. Um, and then being a spiritual person, I know. Talking about being a spiritual person, I'm actually into a lot of paranormal. Another side of me that not many people and they're slowly learning. I'm a big paranormal. I'm into like legends like Bigfoot and the Jersey Devil. I've always been
Yeah.
like that since I was a kid. Sleepy Hollow legends. I'm big on that, but I'm also a very spiritual person, and I know that whatever bad energy you put in this world, you get it back 20 folds over. So me trying to be that good shining light, whether it's embodying what people considered a villain or the anti-villain, then I really don't give a shit. I'm going to do it, whatever works, you know. And that's about it. Like I really think that that's the only way I could answer it. This was a freaking awesome question. I give it to you.
It. Hey, I don't come in with nothing. Okay, I bring
No, you came
receipts.
in swinging. I love it. He was like Mike Tyson right now. Came in swinging with those questions. No,
Mhm.
I love the listen. I'm always up for a challenge. I would never back down from a challenge. So I truly appreciate the questions as a podcast host myself, as a pageant judge. These are questions that I don't know. I might take that question and use it during a pageant.
Oh boy, you better
You
take
see?
you
You
better take a pen.
inspired me.
I try my best. Well, I guess we're at the end here. I think we enjoyed our time. Did you enjoy our time?
Oh my
Ryan?
god, this was so awesome. I am so thankful. I'm so humbled by this. This was amazing. And now we have to get you on the Poisonous Daily. So we're definitely gonna have to plan that out. We're gonna have to switch roles here. We're gonna
Sure.
have to switch roles here because you really deserve the attention and the credit due. You have an amazing podcast. This was so humbling. This was so awesome. I truly, truly appreciate this. And I'm looking forward to whoever hears this and hearing their thoughts. And if it inspires someone, I'm also looking forward to that as well, because that's all I want to be, a positive inspiration. But at the same time, help somebody that needs some type of advice, that needs something, whether it's mentally, spiritually, some physical, how dealing with things, and especially a survivor that is struggling and don't know how to share their story or find help. So that's my biggest thing.
Oh, of course, of course.